the problems I'd seen in Luton, they're in every town and city.
Okay.
As we took it national, I had families coming to me about their daughters. I was hearing different stories thinking, Jesus, it's the same. Everywhere across the country, we're being betrayed. Our daughters are under attack. So this is going on, and then we're having, and it actually worked, because at the start, Luton's hotting up. There was fire bombings. There was trouble in Luton at the start. All the terrorists got done. So the ones that protest against the soldiers, that some of them lived up in our estate. Like they didn't live up there for long. It went mad.
Okay.
It went mad, and then they were jumping out of cars on people, and then in the end the imams called us for meetings, and we had meetings with the imams, and they said, we've all got to live in Luton. I said, we know, but you can't, what's happening to our daughters, this was the sticking point. I said, what are you doing to the girls?
What did they say?
They said, Kadir Bask was the main imam, they're all radicals, proper radicals, but they were worried at the same time. When we went, I said, lads, you're not jumping out of cars on us, we're not going away, yeah? The people are now ready. And I remember the Pakistani boys ringing me up at the time when it was all kicking off at the start, and they said, Yaxley, this lad I grew up with. And they said, mate, you're not messing with the street levels here. You're messing with jihadists, man. These boys have been in training camps. I said, well, there's 500 of us. There's 500 of us, lads. But at the start, we were that annoyed and frustrated. But whereas in 2004, I used my first name, by the next time when the demonstrations come, that's why I used a fake name, Tommy Robinson. Okay. I wore a mask. Okay. No one knew who I was at first. They knew we were all there as football lads, but no one knew who the leader was.
Is there power in that? There is at the time.
There was at the time, because I could do it anonymously and not face the backlash.
Okay.
It took about a year before everyone knew who I was. And then I faced the threats, the terrorism, the violence. But for that first year, I could hide who I was.
And you ended up leaving the EDL. Why? Because
the EDL, at that moment in time, you have to understand, you see the grooming scandal, the rape scandal, no one knew about it. What happened in 6 months was I went from working on a building site and running a couple of little companies to being the leader of the biggest street protest movement Europe has seen. And that street protest movement was spiralling out of control at first. No one was ready for it. The police didn't know how to deal with it. We didn't know how to deal with it. We went from Luton, there was 50 of us in Luton. The Islamic Roadshow, this group, set up a pace table in Birmingham, and they had a banner that said Jesus was a Muslim. And they held a banner up, and they converted an 11-year-old boy called Sean. I showed this video on my Oxford University, so people understand what we've done. And they converted this boy called Sean to Islam, and they're all chanting Allah Akbar. Now, you can't leave Islam, not as far as these jihadists' mindset is. They want to kill you. So I thought, you're now converting our kids. You've gone from attacking our soldiers to shopping centres in Birmingham to converting English kids. I said, no. So we went to Birmingham to try and highlight that. Now, when we went to Birmingham as a group of 50, and we got there, well, Salma Yaqub was a Muslim politician, and they'd all told everyone the National Front, the BNP were coming, and Muslims come from everywhere, and we got attacked, we got battered, people were hospitalised.
How do you get out of a rat race? How do you create wealth not only for yourself, but also for the generations to come after?
I am absolutely amazed with the quality of companies that we're getting exposure to.
We go on to Zoom calls with the innovators and the folks who are building new applications in metaverse, blockchain, artificial intelligence, decentralized finance.
What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me.
We are focusing on early stage investment.
And the quality of people that we're getting exposure to, whether it be Dan Tapiero with 1RT, Jason Ma from Open, Yatsu from Animoca.
It's been a phenomenal experience thus far. It has far exceeded my expectations.
We are focusing on cutting edge technologies.
I view it now as the best investment I've ever made. The upside I view is unlimited.
And as a retail investor, I would never get this exposure anywhere else outside of Investment Club.
See you in the Investment Club.
The buses, the police couldn't get us out of there. They locked us in a pub for about 3 hours, then the police brought buses in to put us in. And as they put us in the buses, all the windows come in, and every road we went down was littered with bricks. There were riots. The Muslim community come out to end us on that first event, yeah? But we had, by this point, we had jumpers and hoodies made saying English Defence League. There was only 50 Luton lads. That's all it was, yeah? And a few Birmingham lads had turned up. Now, from that first demonstration, the images in the national newspaper were English men on the floor and groups of Pakistanis jumping on them. So we'd watch what happened in Birmingham, and after this, there was a church in Longsight in Manchester, and a mosque, so Muslims had bought the church, and then they were just bulldozing over the Christian headstones. So then we watched that and thought, well, like, you can't do that. Right? So then we said, right, we'll leave Birmingham, let's go to Manchester. And when we turned up in Manchester, from that first event where we were violently attacked, 2,000 young men turned up. So we went from 50, but I took all the videos and was putting them on all the football messaging boards, saying Luton have stood up, and showing the video of Luton, showing 500 Luton lads, saying Luton are standing up against terrorists, Luton are standing up against takeover. So, and then by the time we got to Manchester, 2,000 young men were there. And then I was like, wow, men have taken to this. And then men had come together. And the problem is, after the first incident in Birmingham with the violence against us, it weren't going to be 2,000 nurses that come out on the street. It was 2,000 young men
who wanted some violence,
who ain't going to back down.
Right.
We're not going to back down to it. So that then was the English Defence League, across the whole country, and it was set up, and it was so quick for me. Weren't ready for it ourselves. I wasn't political. I didn't know the difference between left and right. I didn't care about politics. I cared about making money. At that time, my passion was making money. Then all of a sudden, I set up the English Defence League, and then we started highlighting issues, talking about issues. We'd go into towns and try and highlight and protest over things that happen in those towns. If you go back, people now know about Telford. They now know about Rotherham. There's videos of us there 5 years before any arrests, chanting Muslim paedophiles off our streets. Our daughters are not halal meat. So we become everyone who had been silenced, everyone who knew the problems in their towns, just come together. And the police didn't know how to deal with it, and we didn't really either.
Okay.
And at that time, it was needed. So we were explosive, we were young, the world was watching. We become a household name in a year. Yeah, people didn't know what to do. No one did, but we didn't either. There was no plan for it. So all of a sudden, I'm leading this group. Now, as I said, being from Luton, I despise Nazis. I don't like racism. Yeah, my problem is with Islam and the ideology. So when we joined the English Defence League, we started attracting, thanks to the media as well, I'd say it was for the brave and the stupid and racists at the same time. And then we fought a battle within, which I show in my Oxford Union presentation. We burned swastikas very early on, saying to Nazis, this isn't a home for you. You're not welcome on the streets of us. But whilst we're doing that, the politicians, the media and the government are telling the whole country it's a Nazi far-right group. So you go to the next demonstration and then other elements are coming. And in the end, there was clashes, like street battles between normal lads who go football and far-right Nazi elements. And it took about 2 years for them to realise they couldn't come anymore. And they wanted to kill me. I was targeted by all of them. They want to kill me as a race traitor. I'm still as a race traitor, Zionist, all these different things. But that was the birth of the English Defence League. And at the time, it got to 2014-15. We'd highlighted lots of things. We'd done a Luton demonstration twice, 10,000 people. Then people wanted another Luton demo, and I, as a Luton lad, didn't. So then I felt I was being hypocritical at the same time, marching into other towns. Because when we had our first march in Luton, the council called me for a meeting. And I went down to the meeting, and they had cameras set up and said, Tommy, will you just sit down and talk to us? I said, yeah, fine. They had a baroness, a Labour baroness, and then about 10 representatives. They said, just tell us what's wrong with you. Tell us why everyone's upset. I said, okay. You want to know what's wrong? And I went through all of them. I said, where do you live? St Albans. Where do you live? Hitchin. These are nice areas. Where do you live? And I went through all of the people who are meant to represent us. I said, none of you live in Luton. You're not even from Luton. And there was a Mohammed was there, the Muslim representative. I said, you live in Berry Parkton, the Muslim community? He said, yeah. I said, so he represents his community and you lot think you represent us. And then I took them up to Farley Hill. I took a representative up to Farley Hill. Farley Hill was one of the most deprived white council estates in Britain. And the park was built in the 1960s. I said, see that park? That's the park for our families and our kids. Let's take a drive down the road to the Muslim community. That's a £330,000 state-of-the-art park. You've neglected us and you've forgot us. Yeah? You've left us behind. And this sort of, my view there, it's not just my view. That's happened to the working class, the white English working class across this country. The biggest academic underachievers in education, white working class. We're failing and we've been left behind. I think it's like 8% of white working class kids on free school meals go to university, something like this, and 40% of black kids. So they're all going to uni, they're accelerating, everyone else is, because everything's set up for the minority. Yeah? We've just been abused. That's and that's how we feel.
And that is wokeism?
I'd say it's wokeism, but it's also just councils pandering to power. They know where the power lies. Within a town, within the Islamic community, the future is Islam. The future vote bank is the Muslim community. Who do you appease for the vote? You appease them. We don't care about them anymore.
So it's the votes.
It's power.
And the money and the commerce, or the votes?
A mixture of all of it, because when you look at the grooming gangs, the scandal across every town and city, it was covered up, it was hid successfully by government, even by the royals. They knew, they all knew. Yeah, the leaders of our country knew, the police force leaders knew. In every town and city, they knew, and they actually conspired to keep it hidden.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.